Everyone know that Daniel Jones will be our starting quarterback this season. I thought the competition in training camp was great by both of those guys. I thought they both competed really hard, and it was good to see them cheering for each other and battling the way they did. And you guys heard me talk about the consistency, and that's really what I was looking for. And really the operation at the line of scrimmage, the checks, the protection, the ball placement, the completion percentage, I think all that played a factor in it. I think Daniel did a great job doing that, and I think AR has made strides in that area. But I do feel that he still needs to continue to develop in those areas. And I had a chance to talk to both of them this morning. They were both great. AR was great. He knows that he still needs to develop and learn in those areas, and he knows that he's one play away. Let those guys know. Let the team know this morning. Team's very supportive of Daniel, but also supportive of AR and his new role, and he's got to attack it the right way, and then we'll go from there.
Shane, how long of a leash will Jones have?
Look, he's our starting quarterback for the season. I don't want to have a quick leash on that. I feel confident in his abilities.
Shane, why was it important for you to make that decision right now?
Well, I think, we got 3 weeks for our first game, and I think it's fair to the team that they know who their starting quarterback's going to be, and they get those reps this week in practice and the following week and getting into game week. So there's just clarity at that position.
Shane, how do you weigh playmaking versus the other duties of the quarterback, which you just outlined, and how did you resolve all that?
Yeah, I think consistency, operation, moving the ball, being consistent on a daily basis. I think Daniel Jones, has done that. I think, that year they went to the playoffs. He was one game away from an NFC championship game and making the right decisions. And his completion percentage, I think that keeps us on track. So that's a big part of it. Obviously, you want to see the big plays. I think Daniel Jones is capable of that as well.
So why do you think you all can win with Daniel and his career record isn't good? And the last time we saw him play football for the Giants, it wasn't good.
Well, I think that he's proven that he's played good football in that 2022 season. He had a hell of a year that year. I think that was the highest completion rate in Giants franchise history that season. So he's proven to do it. I know he's had his ups and downs, but everyone's journey is different and feel confident in his abilities.
Do you think there's another level for Jones to kind of get to still?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's going into, year 6, year 7. I think, guys continue to grow in their process with everything, and I think the guys have taken to him. He's a great communicator with the guys. You can see that veteran presence out there, so excited for that.
That consistency operationally that you referenced, was it a significant difference between Daniel and Anthony, or was it close?
I think it was close. I think, Daniel was ahead of him there. Like I said, I think there's still room for, AR to grow. I mean, he's 23 years old. He's still learning, still growing. And for the first time in his career, this is an opportunity for him to sit at the start of the season and learn in a different light, and attack it the right way.
Shane, is that Baltimore play where actually got sacked on? Is that a play where you need to grow from him?
Yeah, that's not the deciding factor, but that's one of those things where you got to learn and grow from that, and then we go from there.
What do the next 3 weeks look like for Daniel now?
Well, coming up, obviously, with the preseason game, the starters aren't going to play in this game. Daniel nor AR will play. It'll be Riley and Bean. I want to get these threes going. It's their last opportunity. We're pretty banged up right now, so I want to get these guys healthy for week 1 and get these guys going. But this week for him, obviously, we'll get normal. This is like a normal game week for us. He'll get all the reps, obviously, with the ones, and then next week, we got cut down day. And then we got 2 good days of practice before we have the little 3-day weekend before we start, Miami.
How delicate is this in terms of how you handle this with Anthony and how you explain it to him? Because you asked him to compete, he did compete, we saw practice every day.
Mm-hmm.
At minimum, it was a push. So just what was your message to him? Because he could argue he did what you asked him to do.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, he handled it great. We sat down in my office this morning and talked, and I said, hey, here's the things that, you need to keep improving on. The things I hit earlier, about the consistency, and, he agreed. He's like, yeah, I got room for growth there. And I said, hey, you're one play away. And he told me the same thing. He's like, you're right, I am one play away. So I'm going to attack it the right way, knowing that if something happened to Daniel, he's got to be ready to go.
Shane, I know you said that Daniel will have a long leash, but last year when you made the switch, you had starters on the team asking for Anthony to come back, leaders on the team.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, how are you prepared to handle that, if that happens again this year?
Yeah, that's a hypothetical question. We haven't got there, but I feel confident in Daniel's ability to lead us.
Do you have any regrets about Anthony's development? You guys have had him for 2 years. This is his third year, just not growing enough in some of those consistency areas?
Yeah, I think part of that is, we threw him into the fire early as a rookie and had some injuries and, been battling some injuries. And I think that's all part of the development, of his game. I think everyone's journey's different. And for the first time, this is an opportunity for him to sit and learn. He's 23 years old. And, if his number gets called at any point in the season, I believe he'll be ready to roll.
Shane, does Anthony need more growth, you think, on the field or off?
I think he's doing a great job in both. He's a young guy. He's continued to grow and mature in every aspect of his life, and I've seen that. And I think that's only going to continue to develop.
So where does he need to grow then?
Like I said, the consistency, the line of scrimmage stuff. I think he's doing a good job with his preparation. Continue to grow in the preparation part. I think that's all a factor.
Do you get enough reps in practice to tangibly grow in those areas?
Yeah, I think so. I think you see some of these guys come in the league and they sit for a couple years. They attack it the right way. I think you got to have a growth mindset when you're in those meetings, even though you're not the guy, knowing that you're one play away and attacking the practices the right way and still preparing yourself as if you are the starter.
When you all drafted AR, it was obviously viewed as, okay, this is the future of our team. We're going to get behind this guy. For Daniel, he's on a one-year deal. Do you view him as your future quarterback beyond just this season, or do you view him as a quarterback forever?
Well, I think let's see how the season goes. If he plays really well for us, then there's a conversation after the season.
It sounds like you're looking at this in a vacuum, like the future is not a consideration here. Is that fair to say?
Well, I think this league is a year-to-year league, and what do I feel is best for the Indianapolis Colts in 2025? And I got to make these decisions. That's what I get paid to do, and I got to go with what I feel is right.
From the outside, I think it might be hard for fans to see like the connection between stuff that sounds behind the scenes in the field. But to be clear, like when you're talking about consistency and preparation and stuff, that affects how a quarterback plays on game day, right?
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, I think AR has made strides in those areas. He's continued to develop and grow as a young player, and I think he'll continue to do that. Daniel's obviously a veteran player that's been around and sat behind Eli Manning and seen it, done the right way. So that's kind of where it's at.
Do you see a future here for Anthony as a starter? And I say that because, just quite frankly, when players are benched twice, top 10 picks, they don't usually pan out the same franchise.
Yeah, that's hard to say. Obviously, Daniel's our starter right now, and if something happened to Daniel at some point, like AR's, gets another opportunity.
You mentioned there was a lot of, you guys have had discussions leading into this decision, which was yours, the final say. Was there much like debate going into who should be the quarterback?
Like, I'll keep all those conversations private, but I met with Carly and I met with Chris yesterday and informed over the decision. And then again, met with the team this morning and let them know. And those guys are going to be supportive of whoever's out there under center.
Shane, ever since you guys drafted Anthony, you and them as the front office really stressed patience with him.
Mhm.
Just to be frank, when you bench him for a second time, it kind of looks on the outside like you guys have lost patience with him. Is that fair to say?
Well, I think everyone's development's different. You know what I mean? He's a young player. He's 23 years old. He's continued to mature and grow up, and I've seen strides in that, and he's going to continue to do that.
Shane, you mentioned Darnold. I'm sorry.
Shane, I know you don't care much about marketing at all, but are you aware, do you care, that the Colts fans, from what we can hear in the vacuum of social media, they're very, very, very much behind Richardson?
Look, I got a ton of respect for our fans. We got phenomenal fans, and they're privy to their, opinions and their thoughts, and I respect that. And at the end of the day, as the coach, I got to do what I feel is best, for the Colts this season.
When you look at Darnold and Mayfield, do you see that as a template for Daniel Jones?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, you've seen it around the league. You know what I mean? I feel confident in his abilities, to lead us. Like I said, you've seen it done in the 2022 season. He's proven to do it. And so this is another opportunity for him to do it.
Because how do you all sell Anthony on his future here when he doesn't really know when that next opportunity might come? And in theory, it won't come if Daniel Jones stays healthy.
Yeah, I think part of that is just trusting the process of saying, hey, I'm still developing and I'm growing and I got to attack this thing the right way because I never know when my number's going to get called. And I think that's all part of it. And, you're going to go through ups and downs and adversity throughout your career, and how you handle it really speaks about the true character of who you are as a person. And I think he's only, growing in those areas.
Why do you think he hasn't been able to, develop the way you all maybe envisioned a few years ago? And what role do you think he played and maybe not get him to that point?
Yeah, I think a big part of it is, he's been injured, and I think that's part of it. And when you're not practicing and playing, it's hard to, go out there and do the things you want to do. So part of that is, staying healthy.
When you get into the season,
more.
Anthony will run the scout team.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you sense that Daniel Jones is a leader on this team from what you've seen?
Yeah, I think he's a veteran guy that's been around the block and seen a few things, and seeing how he interacts with his teammates and how they've taken to him and how he's taken to them. I think he's done a really nice job, and I think the guys are excited for his opportunity.
Shane, do you feel like this is the way you should have approached it his rookie year, giving him the opportunity to sit and watch?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think, we drafted him where we drafted him for a reason, at the 4th overall pick because of the talent, and, he got thrown into the fire, and and he ended up getting injured, you know what I mean? So that's, you go back on those situations and look at it and where we were at as a football team and drafting him that high and putting him in that situation to go out and go through the lumps and the bruises of, a rookie quarterback. And then, obviously, getting injured week 4, wasn't ideal.
Shane, you talk about the ups and downs of being a quarterback. What do you say to people who might say, well, Daniel hasn't had a good season since 2022?
Well, I think that, he's proven that. I think the behind-the-scenes stuff that people don't see with Daniel Jones is his work ethic, the way he connects with his teammates, the operational stuff, like I said at the start of this thing, in the huddle, the communication, the checks, all that. And I think we got a good group around him. Overall, our football team, offensively, the weapons we have, that I feel that he can be successful in it.
Shane, in what ways do you feel like as a staff you did get Anthony to the line of scrimmage level that you needed to?
Well, I think, everyone's development's different, you know what I mean? And I think the injury was a big part of it, and then still keeping them engaged, that first year, and then obviously going through the second year was a part of it. And I think the injuries played a factor in it, but also still, I think Cam's done a really good job. I think Jim Bob's done a good job keeping them engaged. And again, like I go back to everyone's development's different in this process.
But is there any contradiction in saying that he does need that development, but also a lot of that development comes with playing?
Yeah.
Is there any contradiction there?
No, that's a great question. I think part of that is, you guys heard me say that, you get better by more reps. And I think, bringing Daniel Jones in, to the competition, it was an open competition. And, Daniel Jones is going to be our starting quarterback. So now he's in a different light, for the first time in his career to sit back and see Daniel Jones, but still prepare as if he's the starter, knowing that he's one play away.
You mentioned the injuries as hindering him. Isn't he still in the meetings? Isn't he still learning?
Yeah.
So I guess where's the growth now where he's back in the meetings again and he's not on the field?
Yeah. Well, I think you still got to get the mental reps in the meeting, day in and day out. I think that's part of the development. And then when you are on the scout team, I think you can still work on your fundamentals and your technique and going through it and going after the defense, on the scout team. I think that's all part of it.
Shane, the eyeball test, and also Carly, what she said to us a month ago, says that you guys need to start winning or Chris and I, not be around forever. So how much did that play a role in you going with Daniel right now?
Well, I think this league is year to year, and you got to do what you feel is best, for this football team. And I got a lot of confidence in the guys in that locker room. I got a lot of confidence in these coaches. We've been close, but I think the process is more important than the results, knowing that our daily habits and our discipline and our toughness will lead to that success. And so that's really where my focus is at.
Yeah, I know you're the last one here for all of this, but ever since 2019, this team has brought in veteran quarterbacks that last less than a year, and then you're looking for the next one. I guess what would you say to fans who are wondering why this one will be different?
That's a great question. I can't answer that. I've been here for 2 years, but what I'll say is I like Daniel Jones and his ability and the consistency that I believe he can bring to this football team.
All right.